Madam Ambassador, I would like to say thank you very much to you because you are accepting me here in the Embassy of Switzerland in Azerbaijan in Baku. Thank you very much. For me it's great pleasure because I really prepared a lot for this interview.
Thank you and welcome to the Swiss Embassy in Baku, in the old city of Baku.
So could you tell us more about yourself? Because it's very interesting for us. You like a personal, and your personality.
Yes, good morning and welcome to the Swiss Embassy in the old city of Baku. Of course I will answer your question, but first I would like to say a few words about the current situation because large-scale military confrontations have been taking place since Sunday. And here I would like to say that I'm deeply worried about the news of many deaths, in particular among the civilian population. And of course my thoughts are with the families of the victims and the injured persons. On Monday, Switzerland publicly expressed its position about the situation. Switzerland called on the parties to end the use of force immediately and also to respect international humanitarian law, in particular to protect the civilian population. And Switzerland fully supports the efforts of the co-chairs of the Minsk group to find a peaceful resolution of the conflict. And also, of course, myself personally, I very much wish that peace will return soon to the region. So this is what I wanted to say because, of course, this interview takes...
because it's very important for nowadays.
This interview takes place in a very special situation and of course...
very difficult situation, I agree completely with you.
Yeah. And now to answer your question about myself. I have been in Baku now for a bit more than 1 year, since July 2019. I come, as you certainly hear, I come from the French-speaking part of Switzerland, from a town called Lausanne, and I have been working with the Swiss Federal Department of Foreign Affairs already for a very long time, for more than 20 years. And before coming to Baku, I was posted in Paris, so a neighboring country of Switzerland.
That's very interesting. And what about your main goals that you have set for yourself as ambassador here in Baku?
Of course, as an ambassador, my objective is to promote Switzerland's interests and to contribute to the development of the relations between Switzerland and Azerbaijan. And here I can say that these relations are good and cover a wide-ranging areas, of course political questions, but also economic, culture, education. About this I think we will speak further. There are regular high-level meetings. For example, last year in October, the president of the Swiss Senate came to Baku. And this year in January there was a meeting between the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, Mr. Aliyev, and the Swiss President, Mrs. Sommaruga. This took place in Davos on the margins of the World Economic Forum. These are high-level meetings, but I would also like to stress the importance of people-to-people contacts. Of course, now with COVID-19 it's a bit more difficult, but of course my goal would also be to have more Swiss people knowing Azerbaijan, and a very good opportunity would have been the European Football Championship, which was supposed to have taken place in June and July, because we would have had 2 matches of the Swiss football team here in Baku. So I was very much looking forward to it. And of course, I hope that the championship will take place next year. I would also like to mention another very important pillar of the activities of the embassy. This is the projects which Switzerland has in the area of international cooperation. Last year, 2019, we celebrated 20 years of Swiss engagement in Azerbaijan. which was very important for us. And here I can say that nowadays our projects are mainly focused on macroeconomic stability and private sector development. We aim to contribute to the diversification of the economy of Azerbaijan, which is an important objective of the Azerbaijani authorities. And I can mention a few examples. For example, recently the Swiss State Secretariat for Economic Affairs approved a project in the area of taxation. So here we will work together with the Ministry of Economy of Azerbaijan. We are also going to resume a project aimed at modernizing the financial sector. Here we will work with the Central Bank of Azerbaijan. We also have projects financed by the Swiss Agency for Development Cooperation. Here I can mention a topic which is very important for us. It's about women's economic empowerment. Here we finance so-called resource centers. There is one in the near Baku, in Baku Khazar. These projects are implemented by UNDP, and also in the context of COVID-19, we are going to support the local NGO in the area of children's development and domestic violence. Mm-hmm. So with this, I wanted to show you the very broad natures of the relations between Azerbaijan and Switzerland.
That's great. What can you say about economic cooperation between Switzerland and Azerbaijan? At what level are relations between our countries? And what are the prospects for these relations?
Economic relations, of course, are also an important pillar. They are good. For example, the trade volume last year was amounted to 2,087 million Swiss francs. That's a bit more than 500 million manat. So the relations are good, but of course there is still a potential for development. There are regular meetings of a so-called Joint Economic and Trade Commission between Azerbaijan and Switzerland. The last one took place last year. And here what I can say is that Swiss companies can be valuable partners for the diversification of the economy of Azerbaijan. For example, one of the largest foreign investments in Azerbaijan is from the Swiss company Holcim. They have a factory near Baku. Mm-hmm. Yes, Swiss companies also have valuable experience, for example, in the transport, infrastructure sector, renewable energies. And of course, these economic relations, I think this is very important, are in the mutual interest of both countries. There are also investments of Azerbaijan in Switzerland. Mm-hmm. But of course, concrete partnerships between companies always depend on the mutual interest of these companies and on the framework conditions for investments.
Uh-huh. And are Swiss companies working in Baku, and how many for nowadays? If they are, of course.
Yes, there are Swiss companies working not only in Baku but also in other places in Azerbaijan. I would say approximately 15 or 20. One example is the one which I just mentioned, Holcim in Garadagh, a bit in the south of the city center. We have also another Swiss company called Sika, who is present at the Sumgait chemical industrial part, and several big Swiss companies which are represented in Azerbaijan, for example ABB, Schindler, etc.
Now let's talk about education a little bit. Are there any educational programs for Azerbaijani students?
There are so-called Swiss government excellence sponsorships. These are sponsorships aimed at highly qualified postgraduate students. applications are submitted through the Swiss embassy, and then the selection is done in Switzerland. And here there are currently 2 Azerbaijani researchers benefiting from these sponsorships. And here I'm very glad to say that both of them are women, so they had the best candidatures and were selected for these sponsorships. So this is for highly qualified researchers. But we spoke earlier about people-to-people contacts, and I can say that there are several young Azerbaijani people studying in Switzerland because we have some very well-known education facilities. And for example, one area where we have well-known schools in Switzerland is hospitality. So there are a few Azerbaijani students in Switzerland in this area, which offers very good job opportunities. And at the embassy we try to stay in touch with these students and former students, the so-called alumni. We are organizing from time to time events because, yes, as I mentioned, I think that these people-to-people contacts are very important, besides, of course, official contacts.
Madam Ambassador, thank you very much for such interesting conversation today and your wish to Azerbaijan and to Azerbaijani people.
Well, I would say that this year, of course, is quite a special year, and I think we can say a difficult year, because now for several months the world has been facing, and is still facing, the pandemic of COVID-19. So, of course, I hope that the situation will improve in this area. But now, of course, the focus is on the current situation and the military confrontations. And as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm very concerned about the news of so many deaths, especially in the civilian population. And so clearly, as we speak today, my strongest wish is that the conflict can be resolved peacefully, and that peace is going to return to the region, because of course it's important also for the full development of the potential of the countries concerned, and Azerbaijan has a lot of potential, so this would be my dearest wish.
Thank you very much. Really, thank you.
Thank you very much.